Welcome to a Fallout 76 episode. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, a little bit of research, a little bit of speculation. I know we're all waiting for new content right now. I know we have like 2 days, January 13th of 2022. We have the return of the Hunt for the Treasure Hunter. No new plans have been announced. The PTS is not open. We haven't had an Inside the Vault in a while. So we're all scrambling to try to find something to do in a game we absolutely love, but are craving content. So I went back to this event, the Mothman Equinox event, and I'm trying to figure out where the lantern is. So we have interpreter Clarence here. I'm just going to let him talk for a second. I'll put him on.
We are the wise Mothman's Enlightened. We are pilgrims of knowledge.
Where do you come from?
We have ventured from our place of study, the lantern, far from here. During the time of the equinox, myself and a group of observers make the perilous trip to the Wise One's homeland.
So we're trying to find out where that is. Where is the lantern? Far from here, should you ever feel the pull of its light, your journey will take you there. So we don't have a lot to go on from this guy. So let's just escape from this video and we'll pull up. Whoop, you're not supposed to see that yet. Where is it? Down here. Okay. If you played the event, if you reached, I think it was in the level 40s or something, you'd be able to unlock these Mothman tomes. They're a set of 6 books, and they're located in the Point Pleasant Church. Now, they're still there, but if you, even after the event is over, they kept all the icons that were in the game. The funeral pyres, the pyres are still there, and everything, and the 6 books. So you can go back and read them. But if you didn't complete a certain number of events, you will not have access to the tomes that you did not unlock. So I will post a second video after this, and it will be just the video, just the Mothman tomes, nothing else, just the Mothman tomes. So you can read them at your leisure, pause the video, etc., and use it as a frame of reference. So if we look at this particular tome, we hear a little bit about Wise Charles. Now, Wise Charles is the same Charles the Enlightened, that sits to the left of the Mothman throne during the Mothman Equinox event. He's in the wheelchair. His eyes are kind of cleary white. He's glazed over, and his cranium is considerably enlarged. And they talk about it, at least interpreter Clarence does, that he has received the enlightenment from the Mothman, that his brain is growing. So Wise Charles is the same Wise Charles that we find in the tomes, and he was in the Lucky Hole mine. Wise Charles did attempt to summon the Mothman and receive his glory, and Charles alone heard the whispers of the wise Mothman and bore his warning of fire and flood, and guided his brethren to safety in the Lucky Hole mine. Now, in the game now, you can go into the Lucky Hole mine and find traces of the cult in there, and how they survived, because they listened to Wise Charles and hid in the Lucky Hole mine before the bombs dropped. The mine sheltered the Mothman's faithful through apocalypse, but where there they turned to darker worship, and the time came for Wise Charles to see past the visions of the dim ones to the greater truth bestowed by the wise Mothman. Some listened and heard, and when they could bear no more the corruption and falsehoods of those that were their brethren, the enlightened left behind the lies of the deceiver. The world was wild and dark, and many horrors awaited the enlightened in the lands outside the safety of the mine. Dark beasts and strange pestilence stalked the land, and some among the enlightened fell to their knees crying, "What has become of our home? Why have we survived when all is lost? Are we forsaken?" They called out to Charles, return to the mine and reject the truth, saying there was nothing for them here. Wise Charles smiled upon them, and the light of the Mothman's wisdom shone as he spake to them, saying there was safety beyond the hills they had known. A lantern awaited them, a beacon of safety and home for those that had heard the truth and been enlightened. He would guide them, and they would fear neither beast nor plague, and would pass beyond the reach of the dim ones and the influencer of the pretender, the deceiver. So did the enlightened journey from the bounds of the West Virginia that was into lands untouched by the scorched plague. They were founding their church, naming it the Lantern, as they had foreseen. It's trying to get this. Light shines in darkness as a symbol of a truth no shadow can conquer, and it calls to the wise Mothman wherever he may be, telling him, here are those who hear the church. So let's try to find out where the lantern is on the map, on our real map of the United States. Let's head into the 4th volume of the Sacred Tomes, and this one is called Observations, Volume 27. So let's have a look at this. Woods in Ohio, ? Past midnight, the howl of wolves is quieted by the wind-stirring flutter of tremendous wings. So we have our first location, Ohio, and basically on the other side of the river where Point Pleasant is, that's the state of Ohio. So that's pretty close. So we can assume that the wind-stirring flutter of tremendous wings is a scorch beast. And in the interpretations, nothing really there of value. Let's go on to the next one. The next one says, deserted town, Virginia, galaxy sign damaged. So Galaxy News Network, the GNR, Galaxy Radio News, or Galaxy News Network. Dusk, waning crescent just above the horizon, in silhouette against the dying sun. Purple orbs shine from a shadow. I am certain it is no longer safe and must find new shelter. So the purple orbs shine from a shadow. Those would be the eyes of the wise Mothman. So we have Virginia, galaxy sign damaged. So we're going to pause on that for the Galaxy News Network sign and go to the next location. Let's see, right here. This one I thought was interesting. Mountain Trail, Tennessee, late afternoon storm clouds. A shadow passes overhead long before I can see it. So it would probably be a vertibird. The wind carries a fine gray powder which clings to my face and hair. So the fine gray powder could be Mothman dust, or it could be radioactive dust and fallout going across the winds. So Mountain Trail, Tennessee. And let's see, we are here. Highway, Virginia, night, maybe an hour past full dark, sitting at a campsite. I hear the beat of his wings and the sound of him alight behind me. So they're in a forest somewhere on a highway in Virginia. So from Tennessee to Virginia, I think the first two, the Ohio and the Galaxy ones, may be out of order, or they may have tried in these directions. But I think if we start in Virginia, this will start to make sense. At least to me it does. And then we hear at Watauga, West Virginia, nearly dawn. And this is where the guy is probably strung out on drugs because he sees a Mothman eat a robo-brain. And then they said Observer Dave has once again fallen prey to the lure of chems. So let's see. And that is it. So if we take those and we go to a map of the United States, right here at this heart is Point Pleasant and Morgantown. This is the state of West Virginia. To the east, we have the capital, Washington, and just slightly north, we have Pittsburgh. Now, the first one, if we zoom in here on Point Pleasant, this is this river here, the Ohio River, that runs this way, north-south. There's your Ohio River and Point Pleasant. This is where the Mothman Museum and is where the event takes place. This is Ohio on the other side of the river. And if we zoom back out, I'm trying to get the state lines to show up. Let's see. And I've got some hearts marked. I need one more heart in the picture. And there it is. So we have Pittsburgh, Morgantown, Point Pleasant, Washington, D.C., and Nashville in Tennessee. I'm just going to move this map up just a little bit. So they talk about Tennessee, the mountains of Tennessee, and this is the state line right here. Now, if they went from Tennessee to Virginia to West Virginia, you can see the state line is right here, and it bumps up here into Virginia, this little kind of corner triangle. So if they started in Nashville and went east, then they would come up here into Virginia, right in this area, and then be in West Virginia. Obviously, Watauga is a fake place in the real world. But if we assume or guess that they traveled from Nashville through to Virginia to West Virginia, that would make the lantern in Nashville. So why Nashville? The capital of Tennessee has this building, the state capitol building, and this structure on the top. And it sits on this enormous hill. Let me see if I can find one of the photos here. It sits on this hill as a beacon. This part of the structure in architecture is actually called a lantern. In architecture, originally an open work timber construction placed on top of a building to admit light and allow smoke to escape. The term lantern soon came to refer to the open top story of a tower, because such a construction resembled a lamp container and because beacons were occasionally placed there. So if you take the evidence of the tomes talking about traveling from the mountains in Tennessee through Virginia into West Virginia, I had to find a building or a church or anything that had a lantern. I couldn't find a kind of iconic church, so I settled on this, the state capitol in Nashville. And also, here's a quick picture. We actually got another tiny clue in the game about the lantern, and it was the very first reward we received when we played the Mothman Equinox event, and that was this little Mothman Stein with the little lantern on top. So just a little bit of digging on Google and you can find some clues to things. Hopefully you found the video interesting. I'll see you guys out at the Treasure Hunter event starting this Thursday, January 13th. And as always, see you out in the wasteland.